Okay, so here we go again. This is my second time recording this, but for some reason the audio didn't work on the last file. So I had a special request from Gene, one of my students, to explain in better detail how to work with images on layers or how to create image layers. So basically what I'm going to do, right now you can see that I have Photoshop open. I haven't done anything with it yet. There's no file open or anything. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go up to File, Open, and as you can see over here, you can just do Control O. So let's just do Control O. And here's in my pictures library, I have a bunch of stock images. So I'm just going to pick this guy right here, okay? I'm going to click on that and click Open. It'll take a second, and then, okay, here we go. Now what do we see here? We now have the one layer that is the background image, and it starts out with a lock here. That means that this layer is locked. Photoshop always locks the background layer just because you have to have at least one layer to have a Photoshop file, but you don't really need that, so we can just drag that and throw it out, okay? So your Photoshop document, when you open up a picture like this, your Photoshop document is the same dimensions as the picture, okay? So if you look down here, you can see it's 25%. This is actually a high resolution file. So if we click Control plus, you can go in there, and this is 100%. So this is showing the resolution on the screen at 100%, okay? And that means that, for example, if you have a picture that's 300 dpi, dots per inch, that means that when you print, the actual resolution of the image is going to be higher than that of your monitor. So if your monitor is 72 dpi, which most of these monitors are, you know, you have to shrink down the image to see the resolution. I hope that makes sense, because if this is very high resolution, if you're going to see it at full resolution, it's going to be bigger. Okay. Now, let's say that we want to create a header for a Facebook page, and we want to use this image. How do we do that? The first thing we would do is go up to File. We would need to create a new Photoshop document. Now, you'll notice one thing up here. This is a tab, okay? Now, you can work with multiple files, multiple Photoshop files inside of the program at once. It's like working with, you know, internet browser. You can have multiple pages up at once. So if you open up another file, you're going to get another tab right here. So let's do that. File, New. And I'm not sure what the dimensions are for Facebook, but I believe it's around 850 wide, width by something like, let's just say 400. When you put upload a file to Facebook, it'll resize it for you, so it's not absolutely essential. Resolution 72 because it's going to be a web graphic. Color RGB, all this other stuff is fine. Okay, and we're going to name it Facebook header. Okay. All right, that looks doesn't quite look like the right size, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. This is just a demonstration. Okay, now you can see again, we have this lock here and we have a white background. You can have, there's different options, so you can open it with different colored backgrounds. It doesn't really matter because you're going to fill everything in anyway. So I'm just going to leave that the way it is. Now I'm going to go back. You can see we have our tabs here, so I'm going to put tab on this one. Now I'm going to left click with the mouse and drag this over. Now if this was locked over here, you couldn't do this, but now you can drag it, and I'm going to drag the mouse up to this tab, and now you can see it changes to the other document, and I'm going to pull it down, and now you can see that this image is on layer 1, and you still have the background. If you click on the eye, you'll see the background. But what you'll notice now is that this picture is fairly small, okay, because this is 100% resolution. So what I'm going to have to do is hit Control T, and I can scale back hitting Control minus, 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 minus. Okay, and you can see how much bigger that image is than the canvas that we're working on. So I'm going to go up here to one of the handles. You can see when I grab the handle, you can see the arrow changes. And I'm going to click on that and start dragging it towards the middle. Now if I hold my hand on Shift and Alt, it will make sure that the image doesn't distort. It stays the same dimensions, the same height dimension by the same width dimension. Okay, so I'm actually just clicking on Shift as I do this. And you can always, you know, as I've said before, you can always just hit Shift, Control, and Alt. They give you different options within the same tool usually. So now that it's this size, I'm going to click Enter. There we go. And I'm going to click Control plus, and get this to 100%. And now I can move this picture around. Okay? There we go. I think that looks decent. You always want to make sure that you don't have distractions. Like I would call this tree kind of a distraction, and this is kind of a distraction. So let's Control T, make it a little. You never want to make something small then bigger, but just for the sake of time. And another quick rule, whenever you're working with photos, you want to use the rule of thirds, which means there's an imaginary line here, an imaginary line here, and then 3 lines across. Okay? So if you do three. You want to do 3 lines across, then 3 lines horizontally, 3 lines vertically. So you want to generally try to either put your horizon on the bottom line here or put it up like this on the top line here. Okay? Just a quick tip. All right, now we have this image layer, and we can bring in more images if we want, okay? And let me show you another option. I'm going to go to a website. One of my favorite websites for getting free images is called freeimages.com. So let's go to that. Here we go. freeimages.com. And I'm going to put, let's just say, I'm going to search for a dramatic sky. There we go. And you actually have to be a member here. So here's, but just go ahead and do that, and it gives you all these different photos. Always make sure that look on the copyright for these images to make sure that you're using an image that's free to use, but most of these are free. So let's just pick out some, okay, let's click on this guy, and now it's going to give us, when we click on this, like see, it says standard restrictions apply, so you can use it. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to download this gigantic image in my browser. Now all I have to do is right click, copy image. Now I can close this, go back, click on my document. You don't even need to create a new layer, and just click Control V, and it's going to drop that new image into your picture. Okay, so now we have these 2 pictures on top of each other. We're going to do the same thing with the picture on the top. Control T. Let's go back. Resize that, make it small. There we go. All right. And now we have these 2 images sitting on top of each other. You can move this one, you can move this one. Okay, now, if you want to, one thing that I do a lot of times to make my pictures look a little better is I replace the sky. So I'll do a really quick version of this, even though the sky in this picture is actually nicer in a lot of ways. So let's just create an alpha channel. I'm going to click down here, and then we're going to paint. Going to grab the paintbrush, make sure it's black, and just paint through here. And we can hit the curly brackets right and make our brush small, and start just kind of making sure that the buildings don't have anything. There we go. And that, I mean, this is just down and dirty kind of quick, but you can see we've added a little bit of sky there. And of course, like with everything, you can go here to the adjustment layer and change your curves. Let's do that. And that'll adjust everything. And one of the things that works really well is to put adjustment layers over a series of different images, and it starts making everything look like it's from the same picture. A big thing in Photoshop is blending and making sure everything looks like it has this, that it was taken in the same picture, that it's not sticking out. I'm going to do my little yellow thing here, and then I'm going to desaturate this a little bit. Hue saturation, just take down the saturation a little bit. Okay. And then we could put some text on top of that. Let's do another layer. when you click on the text button, or the type tool as they call it, then we can do Facebook. And as you can see, okay, what's happening? It's not writing. Well, look up here. It's 312 point. That means it's huge. So I'm going to, let's pull this down, see if you can see a letter. Yeah, that's just absolutely huge. So I'm going to click off the type tool, hit the type tool again, but I'm not going to select it. And now I'm going to change this to 30. There we go. Oops. Does that make sense? Let me do that again real quick, even though we're not talking about the type tool. But whenever you want to edit all the text that's on a layer, I'm going to select off that. Okay, let's select on this layer. If you select this, then whenever you select individual parts of the text, let's say you want to change the F to a larger font, and 46. Okay, now the F is big. But if you want to change all the text on that layer to be the same, you would deselect it, select it again, but don't select the text, don't click on the text, and then you can, it'll give you the adjustment, so you can select the size that you want. And you can actually do that for multiple layers too. If you've got a bunch of layers of text and you want to change them all to a different font, or change all their colors or whatever, you can do that. So, but that's not image layering. Sorry, I got distracted. Okay, so here we go. Those are the two main ways. And also remember, if you're, let's say we're editing this image again. Let's go back over here. I just clicked on the tab up here, and I'm going to hit Control-Alt-Z, so it goes back to the middle, back to where it was. If I have, let's say I want to do the adjustment layers over here. So I'm going to do curves and boost up the, let's see, just play with it a little bit over here, make, change my colors a little bit. Okay, now I've got that adjustment layer. If I want to, I can bring both of those layers over into the other document, okay? And this is something that's really pretty powerful. You can, and even if you've got a bunch of adjustment layers, let's say you've got that, and then you want to desaturate it a little bit. So let's desaturate, where is that? Hue saturation. Desaturate it just a little bit, and then you want to, who knows, we're going to change, let's do the color balance. We'll do the color balance, and we're going to take all the shadows and make them kind of bluish, and then we're going to take the highlights and make them more yellowish. It doesn't look great, but whatever, and then we'll adjust the opacity on that to 50. And you can take all of these, you can hit Shift and select them all. I'm just clicking on that and then clicking on the layer 0, and it selects all those. And now I can drag them all back over into this new document, and you see it dragged all of the adjustment layers with the picture. Okay, now that's it for image layers right now. If there is anything that anybody has questions about, let me know, and I will address them and make a video and help you figure out whatever you're having problems with. Thanks, guys.